We had a chance to talk about On the Waterfront last night, but you're a man of so many, the ultimate Renaissance man, Bud Schulberg. And I thought I'd just throw out some names at you of people whose lives you passed and just give us an anecdote or two. And I'll start with F.Scott Fitzgerald.
But Scott, I just got another dog, trying to make it brief because it was a long story that finally filled a fairly long book. But
It's okay.
I just gotten out of college of a dog with, and about 3 years before, and I was back as a young screenwriter. Walter Wenger, the producer at the Samuel Goldwyn studio, had been my sponsor for dog, but he had really sent me there, helped to get me in. And he called me in and gave me a job writing a movie about the winter carnival. And so I did about 40 pages or so, and Walter didn't like it very much, and he said that he was going to put another writer on it. And I didn't like that idea so much. Writers never do, but I said, who was the other writer? And he said, it's Scott Fitzgerald. And I truly thought they were just pulling my leg. For one thing, I thought somehow I got the impression that Scott had died. And so I did. I just said, Scott Fitzgerald, you're kidding me, Walter. Scott Fitzgerald is dead, isn't he? And he said, not at all. He's right in the next room reading his script. So I went in, and Scott was just finishing the last page. And that's how I met him. And he looked up at me and said, well, he said, I don't think it's very good. And I said, Mr. Fitzgerald, I don't think it's very good either. and we started to work together. And it's sort of a long story. We went out for lunch, and because I was fascinated with him. And I said, my God, I never thought I'd be at a table having lunch with Scott Fitzgerald. And he said, well, I'm amazed that you even know, I'm surprised that you know who I am. And I said, my God, I read all your books in college. I started writing about the 10 Rivers of Night. Still one of my very favorite books. I have it on my desk. Sometimes I just open it and start reading. It's marvelous. And he told me that day that all his books were out of print. And he asked me how much do you think my royalties were last year. And I said, I thought it must be low, so I said, I don't know, $500. And he said, last year, my royalties were $13.80. So that's how we started. We went off on this weekend that was a disaster, absolutely a disaster. I can't go into all the details, but we both sort of fell apart. Scott got very drunk. It was sort of my fault. My father was very literary, and he was excited about Fitzgerald, even though the town was pretty much turning their back on him, and Windsor was giving him kind of like a last chance. But my father brought 2 big bottles of Magnum, bottles of Mum's champagne to the plane. It was a trip that Scott did not want to take. He argued against it. Windsor was taking us up to the Winter Carnival. And in the meantime, nightmare situation, he was sending his photographic unit up there and planning to shoot all the locations of our story, which we didn't have. We could not lick this damn thing. it was a very mechanical, anyway, I don't know, it really didn't grab either one of us very much. And we started drinking that champagne on the trip. Young people have no idea what flying to New York was like in those days. There was sleepers like a Pullman on a train, because it went on 16, 17 hours. We would stop and refuel twice, I think. And it was just endless. We drank the whole first bottle of champagne on the first leg of the trip, I think. And we got along so well because we had so many interests in common. I was, of course, fascinated by his knowing Ernest Hemingway and Dos Passos, all the great writers of the 20s. And he was quite interested in the new people, that writers of the 30s that I knew. And we were both very anti-Nazi. He was much more political than people realized. Really a liberal in politics. We were both sports fans, interested in football. I don't think we just got along very well. And we enjoyed talking about everything in this world, about Hollywood. He was very interested in my having been raised in Hollywood. And we got along great on everything, except we couldn't get this damn movie together. And I won't go into it all, but he unraveled, and we stayed at the New Weston Hotel. no, at the Warwick Hotel. Every time I go by, I still look at the 10th floor, a little sort of a fake balcony. I still look up at that room where we went through hell. And he did get drunker. Found it's almost too long to tell.
But you ultimately ended up with his Social Security card.
Hmm?
You ended up with F.Scott Fitzgerald's Social Security card.
Yes, I did.
How did that happen?
In some crazy way, we got off on the train. Another nightmare, because Wendy was pushing us. When you get off the train, the camera crew director will be waiting for you, and you've got to give them your setup of the story backgrounds, which we still did not have. And we stood up and talked about it. And Scott was pretty far gone. We got off at Springfield, Massachusetts, and the train stopped there. We saw a little coffee place in the train station. We got the idea we'd get off and grab a quick coffee that might help us. And we did. And at the counter, Scott stumbled and almost to his knees, and these things fell out of his pocket, including his check for $1,500. And I just put things back as best I could. And as we're hurrying back to the train pulled out without us. But somehow I must have that day picked up his Social Security card when he fell, had it in my pocket. Somehow that got put away in some box, and years later, looking for something else, I found it. And by that time I decided,
You got to keep it.
I guess I'll keep it.